Day 14 of the government shutdown. We've been talking about it all morning long, and you may see the video from Washington, D.C. You may hear about what's going on in our nation's capital, but how is it affecting us here in Louisiana?
Yeah, let's get into that right now with Senator Bill Cassidy. Good enough to join us in studio. Good to see with you this morning, because I know it's kind of crazy with everybody right now. So let's start with that. The mood in D.C. We know obviously a lot of folks were newly sworn in just yesterday. The mood in D.C. right now with the shutdown going on.
Well, the mood.
I know it's a loaded question, but I think it kind of reflects the mood of the country, I would assume.
Well, it's kind of an impasse. The president clearly ran on having a physical border at
Sure.
some places, not the whole stretch, but some places along with Mexico. The Democratic Party has decided they do not want that, and that's the impasse. And as Mitch McConnell says, we need Democratic votes for a budget bill and a presidential signature. And until we have that, we cannot go forward. I'm hoping it can resolve. The amount of money is not very much, but the principle, I think, is what is involved. There's been about 60,000 people who have come from Central America to the United States over the last 6 months. They rush the border, they get in. Once they're here, they can't go home. It's just hard to get folks out. Trump and others, myself included, think we need to stop that. The other side of the aisle, maybe not so much. So that's where we are.
As this drags out and the government stays shut down, how will this start to impact folks here in Louisiana? You know, we've seen the talk of the national parks and the litter around the Capitol, but down here in Louisiana, we've got flood insurance policies that we're concerned about, tax returns. What would you tell people that they can expect?
First, about 75% of the government is still working. First, emphasize that. Secondly, there are portions that are not. FEMA, for example, was not going to write new policies for the National Flood Insurance Program. We looked at it, my staff and I, we said, that's not right. We sent them a letter. We showed them they're wrong. They agreed with us, and now they're once more writing policies for new, if you're a homeowner about to purchase a home, you can get your flood insurance. There's other things that will take a little bit longer to resolve. Can't avoid that. Coast Guard will not be checking to see people's if they're within their limit. I'm not encouraging anglers to go out and overcatch, but still. So there's going to be issues such as that. The federal court system will be affected. So there will be an effect. But it comes down to the president saying that he ran on securing the southern border. He feels like there's resistance from the left. He wants that resolved in a way which honors his promise to the American people. And until that happens, it's going to be that sort of rub.
Yeah, I think the Democrats and obviously a bunch newly sworn into the House yesterday, they have said they're not going to be funding the $5 billion. But it's interesting, when you talk about the money, I think the president has come out and said $5 billion. There's been reports on the Democratic side saying, oh, it's $70 billion. I think we both understand that both of those numbers are wrong. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. Even the GAO, Congress's oversight, one of their oversight arms, has said it's billions of dollars more. Can there be a common ground here? Or is it so much one side saying the other is so wrong here that this will never come to some kind of a conclusion?
There absolutely can be common ground.
It has to be, you're right.
If people just step back. Some folks say there cannot be a physical wall. I went to McAllen, Texas to look at the issue. In the middle of McAllen, Texas, there's a concrete wall. And people in McAllen said that forces folks coming illegally to go this way or that way, and we can capture them more effectively by that. And so the president's not talking about a concrete wall from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific. He's talking about in certain select areas you put in such a barrier to enable Border Patrol to capture folks. That seems reasonable to me. But let's face it, the president's rhetoric sometimes is inflammatory. And that inflammatory rhetoric, I think, has hardened the position on the left. But if you just step back and say, we do need to secure our southern border, at some place it'll be a wall, and other places it'll be more Border Patrol, then, and the amount of money will not be $5 billion total, but over time it'll get to where we need it to be, I think that's reasonable.
So the president has not signed off on what the Democrats have recently proposed, but something he did sign off on last night, and we want to end on a good note. Tell us about what's going on with Steve GLEASON.
Yeah, Steve GLEASON, if you're a Saints fan, you know he was a football hero. He just received the Congressional Gold Medal, which is the highest honor Congress can give a U.S. citizen. He received it, and that was my effort and the effort of others. He received it not because of his football exploits, but because he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, tragically, but he used that illness to work for others. And he's worked for research, to make the lives better, for support systems, not just for those with ALS, but for others who are differently abled as well. He's the first such American who has been honored by Congress. It just so happens he's a New Orleans Saints
Yeah, you're
hero.
right.
On the other hand, more importantly, he's a hero for everyone who has ALS, everyone who's disabled, and for that reason, everyone who's an American.
Just signed off on last night.
That's right.
The highest honor
That an American citizen
American
can
citizen,
get
yes.
from our government. Just incredible. All right, so let's see if Steve Gleason, some of that juice can
Everyone
get
can
going.
get behind that.
Exactly, can kind of influence folks there in D.C. and we'll get something going. Like you said, there has to be common ground. Senator, good to see you this morning.
Yes,
Good
thank
seeing
you
you.
so much for being here.